Hey, all my Libra friends. Welcome to my channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today to go through the year 2025 month by month and give you the highlights of what will be happening astrologically. This video is based on Libra rising only, because when I talk about the house structure, that's going to be very important to how this plays out. If you don't know your rising sign, you might want to go to one of the free birth calculators on the internet. And all you have to do is get your exact time of birth and location, and you can determine that information. So let's jump into January. January is going to see the nodes changing from the Libra Aries axis, where we saw the south node in your first house and the north node in your seventh house. The first house is the house of self, of how you see yourself, how you see the world. And the seventh house is a house of cooperation and how you partner up. So, what we were seeing is a real North Node stretch into your own individuality, to be brave about exploring your talents and your gifts. And the South Node was tasking you to be egoless in some way, to surrender to whatever might transpire or transform that would move something away from you. Now the nodes are going to go into your 12th house. We'll see the South Node go into Virgo, and then we will see the North Node go into your 6th house of Pisces. This is a very interesting axis because it's an axis that focuses a lot on how we get in our own way. Pisces is a very compassionate and loving sign. This is your 6th house of health, of work, of your service to other, of your pets. The 12th house, Virgo, is where we're going to see where you might feel unseen. The 12th house is naturally the house of the subconscious. Often it's a karmic house where our soul's ancestry lives. And when the South Node goes into Virgo in the 12th house, you're really being tasked to let go of criticism, perfectionism, overachieving to please others, and to focus in on your health, how your mind affects your stress and how stress affects your body. So this is going to be an important year for you because it's an opportunity to really start to find more self-acceptance. That Virgo energy, while it is very practical and dependable and logical in many ways, it is also a house that is very human. And in its humanness, it's striving for human perfection, which is impossible. So that's going to go on for the next year. In January, we will also see Uranus move direct in Taurus. Taurus is your 8th house of transformation, of other people's money, of finances, of sex, of power and control. And here we're going to see Uranus moving through those last degrees to liberate you from anywhere where potentially other people or materialistic objects have inadvertently potentially influenced your choices that were not quite as authentic to your wants and desires as could be. This is a big lifting of the rug for all humanity to get down to their soul's truth versus how they're trying to fit into the human tribes with which we live in. Venus, Saturn, Neptune, and the North Node are going to convene in Pisces in your 6th house. This is going to be a theme that goes on until April and even somewhat into May, because this is what they call a stellium. It's a concentrated effort, a concentrated group of planets bringing forth something that is coming to a head. And we're all experiencing it in the sign of Pisces. Pisces is a very spiritual sign. It's a very creative sign. So for Libra, the best way to make sure that you feel healthy and alive and purposeful and thriving is to embrace your creativity, embrace your connection to the divine, where we are all fabulously flawed human beings. There is no perfection. So that is what will be the focus. And it kind of takes us back to that 12th house, 6th house access. When we get to February, Jupiter will move direct in your 9th house of Gemini. This is going to be an interesting thing because Jupiter naturally rules the 9th house. Gemini is naturally the 3rd house. So there's a contrary kind of feeling. Something's contrary. Jupiter wants to expand and see the big vision. And then the house of Gemini is going to be like, but I need to pay attention to the details of everyday life. I also think that this has a lot to do with the United States and the media. But for you as a Libra, I think it's an opportunity to rewrite your beliefs about what are your potentials? The 9th house is so expansive, and it is a house that is a money house. Jupiter naturally rules wealth, and I keep saying expansion, but abundance and good luck and things that grow. And here, I think it's about growing and integrating the everyday mind with the broader concepts of the universal laws of attraction, ebb and flow, of gender, of compensation, and integrating all those things. So we're going to start seeing humanity doing that. And then Jupiter's going to move into Cancer, which is going to be very yummy for you in your 10th house of career. But before that, Mars is going direct in Cancer. Mars has been retrograding since the beginning of the year, and it ended 2024 in an opposition to Pluto. It kind of brought that into January as well, but we've been feeling that. So there's a real rebellious feeling to the beginning of the year. And then as Mars moves direct in Cancer, Mars is really starting to have to learn how to be aware of other people's emotions while honoring the self. And also there's a sense of intuitiveness about this. This is your 10th house, is not just the house of career, of public status, but it's a house of leadership. It's a house of, when we get into the upper hemispheres of the Zodiac, we're looking at people observing how we problem solve, how we interact with our relationships. So all of this is going to become an opportunity for you, and it's going to be focused on home, family, hearth, self-care, the mother energy in your life, and also a strong sense, again, of your own intuitiveness. So we've got Mars coming at intuition from a warrior's point of view, sort of that having to look like this, right? And then we have Cancer coming to intuition from a nurturing place. There is a potential for a merger here, but it's going to require intention and awareness. We also see the stellium in Pisces has grown because the sun and the moon have joined this, and Mercury have joined the stellium. So we've got the sun, Mercury, Saturn, Neptune, the north node, and the moon. I believe that Venus is on the very last degrees of Pisces. I missed that in my note, but I'm pretty sure she's in there as well. So February really starts to ramp things up. Again, the focus on your particular beginning of the year is the 6th house. The 6th house of your health, your mental health, how your mind can run amok if it, or maybe even feeling like you can't grasp your thoughts right now, that they feel a little elusive to you, or you're trying to work something out through your mind, 6th house, and rather Spirit saying work it through your creative body, through your heart. In March, we will have our first eclipse season of 2025. It starts with a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo, again, your 12th house. And then we will have a new moon partial solar eclipse in Aries. That will be the last eclipse on the Libra Aries axis. So that will be in your 7th house. Eclipses always have a strong influence over the next 6 months. And when we're looking at a full moon, often people think it's the end of something because the moon is full. It's considered the last phase of the moon. And yet at the same time, for me, it's an illumination. It's like a big, huge piece of information that I couldn't see as I was walking through the moon cycle. So now it's a new beginning for me. So the new moon and the full moon, both to me have elements sort of like gender. We all have a little of a masculine and a little feminine, a little receptive and a little action oriented. Did I say feminine and masculine? I hope I did. But anyway, my mind is in three places at one time. We will also see Neptune enter Aries for the first time in 164 years. This is very significant. The last time that Neptune was in Aries was during the United States Civil War. Now it's going to tip its toe into Aries, and it's going to feel very different because Neptune's been in its rulership for the last 14 years or so. And now it's in, we put water in the sign of fire. So I think that this is really about, again, I don't know if I'm saying again, I've said so many videos. This is a spiritual warrior energy to me. As Neptune moves into Aries, it is how do I connect with the divinity within me so that my soul's expression is authentic and yet still connected to the earth and humans that are here. Because we can have a weird differential between those two things. If we're too connected to our soul, we can feel like we're not part of humanity. We're not connected to other people. And if we're too connected to other people, we can forget about our humanity. So this is an opportunity for us all as a global community to reconnect with the peaceful warrior within. We will also see in March, Venus will retrograde and Mercury will retrograde in Pisces. So here we're seeing we've got 3 months of the year where we've got this stellium, a concentration in your sixth house. Venus also, while she rules your partnerships, she's your ruling planet. She rules your self-worth. She rules your sense of comfort and your sense of peace, balance, harmony. So you're really going to get an opportunity to reflect on if indeed somewhere you've been purporting habits that haven't served your peace and your harmony, either overthinking something or, sometimes, especially during the holidays, as you can see, it's Christmas time 2024, we can overdrink. We can over extend ourselves. Even if you don't drink alcohol, if you eat too much candy, it has a similar effect. So this all could come into play during this period of time. In April, Mercury and Venus will go direct in Pisces. So here we are again, seeing like 4 months of the year with Saturn, Saturn, the North Node, Mercury, Venus, all concentrated in this very spiritual, divine, creative energy. Also, I want to offer this to my Libras. You may find during this period of time that you're very drawn to music that soothes you in some way. You may explore, hanging drums or Native American flutes or something like that helps you connect with the divinity within. We will see Mars re-enter Leo. Now, when Mars re-enters Leo, it begins another opposition with Pluto. Pluto is in Aquarius. Aquarius is your fifth house of romance, of children, of fun, of pleasure. Leo is obviously, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say obviously. Leo is your 11th house of friendships, of networks, of your hopes and your dreams. And this has been a conversation that's kind of been going on since, I would say, early fall of 2024. Pluto was in Capricorn when Mars initially went through Cancer and entered Leo, and before it retrograded. And this was really a conversation and an argument about fears, limitations, restrictions, where things felt repressed and unpleasant. Now, Pluto has moved into Aquarius, where it feels rebellious, where it's looking to the future, where it's kind of sick and tired of the old story that's holding it back, and the old story that is a psychological imprint. So as Mars enters Leo and comes out of its fall and into a fire sign, this is going to be another energy of really wanting to feel a sense of driving the bus of your own life, and anything that's getting in the way is going to create an upset. An opposition represents something outside that we have to traverse in order to transform. And this transition is very strong. So be mindful and well, stay away from people that piss you off. Honestly, I think that's the best way to do it. In May, Saturn will enter Aries, joining Neptune. Saturn has not been in Aries for the last 24 years, as it takes Saturn about 2 years to go around, 2.5 years to go around the zodiac through each sign. Therefore, it takes about 24 years, sometimes up to well, it can take up to 30 years to complete the zodiac, depending upon retrogrades. But my point is this: Saturn is a military energy. It's a government energy. It's authority energy. It's a leadership energy. It's a follow the rules and endure energy. It's joining Neptune. And this again just plays to this idea of spiritual warfare, spiritual heroism in many ways. Because Saturn in its leadership, Saturn in its benevolence gave mankind the tools to develop the earth, agriculture and such, the golden age. So here we can either reclaim the golden age as with our awareness, or we could very much feel a strong sense of erosion and of limitation and of feeling like so heavy. It's very challenging for those that are not aligned to the higher vibrations of these planets to understand that if there is a limitation or some restriction or a fear is stoked through Saturn's entry into the house of self, the house of resentment, because Aries can be very angry and resentful. So as you become aware of this, it's not about judging yourself as the nodes offer you, but to transform it through understanding and wisdom. Pluto will retrograde from 3 degrees of Aquarius to 1 degree of Aquarius until October. And this is again, this energy of wanting to rebel, to move forward, to get the stagnation out. Aquarius is your fifth house, that fifth house of self-expression, fun. And it's a very unique energy. It's a very let me be me energy. And I really think that was one of the things that was the theme of the nodes going through your first house and seventh house, was to allow you the privilege of understanding where cooperation goes over the line and becomes acquiescing. Okay, or giving up our power. In June, Saturn and Neptune will be conjunct in Aries. This is pretty significant in the respect that these two planets are now going to spend the majority of the rest of the year in a conjunction. They don't move more than 5 degrees away from each other. And when I look at the combination of Saturn representing Earth, meaning, an Earth, Capricorn Earth sign, Neptune representing ethereal water sign of Pisces, the water nurtures the earth. And that's what we are going to have to pay attention to. That is our spirituality, our connection to the divine, our connection to our soul, to the divinity within, that will see us through the transits that are coming ahead and will separate us and isolate and insulate us from some of the more challenging dynamics that maybe others will walk through. We see Saturn in Aries make its third square to Jupiter in Gemini. This happened twice in 2024, and now these two planets are going to go into a trine aspect. So the tension of Saturn's potential repression, or what has been repressed, and Jupiter's expansion. I want to move my story forward. I want to feel abundant. I want to feel a sense of flow. Jupiter is tasked in Gemini to marry the big visual ideologies and philosophies with everyday life thinking and tasking. Now, Saturn in Aries is being tasked to stand in leadership, but not in that harsh dynamic that the two can come together. I believe that Saturn is a welcomed guest in the house of Aries because Mars is exalted in Capricorn, and I cannot imagine that Mars would not roll out a carpet for Saturn as it enters its home for the next 2 years. So there is a real potential to benefit and gain wisdom and to garnish material reward from this conjunction, from the entry of these planets. But it's going to take awareness and intention, to recognize the soul within, the eternal being, the co-creator, versus the guy that gets up and goes to work to make a living. Okay, now Jupiter in June is moving into its exaltation of Cancer. Cancer is your 10th house, again, of career, public status, of how people see you. It has, last time it was there was 2013 to 2014. This is a wonderful, wonderful time to take advantage of this energy. Jupiter is just, Jupiter brings all good things to the sign of Cancer. It expands the home, it expands the family, it expands the intuition, the healing, the nurturing. So as you focus on that, this could be a very lovely year, especially if you want to create some sort of revenue, some sort of revenue, some sort of income. If you want to do a side hustle or you want to expand your business, this would be a very fortuitous time to do that. In July, we're going to see 3 planets turn retrograde. First, we'll see Neptune retrograde on July 4th until December 10th, from 2 degrees of Aries to 29 degrees of Pisces. The Pisces is a strong, strong influence for the year 2025. I'm telling you. Saturn will retrograde from July 13th until November 28th, from 1 degree Aries to 25 degrees of Pisces. And Mercury will retrograde from July 18th until August 11th, from 15 degrees to 4 degrees of Leo. When Mercury retrogrades, or I shouldn't say that, as Mercury traverses through Cancer and through Leo, it's going to create an opposition to Pluto, as will Venus. So there'll be that series, that wave that we'll feel again, that we feel almost every year. But this time, Pluto is in Aquarius, and the energy is going to be taking no prisoners. It's going to be very independent and very, I can't allow for stagnation. That's how it's going to feel. So the retrogrades are all in their own way going to address where there's stagnation. These are the highlights. I will be doing videos throughout the year that will go into much more detail about these transits. We have Uranus entering Gemini until, well, it's tipping its toe in Gemini. It's going to retrograde a little later in the year back into Taurus, and then it will come back and settle into Gemini until 2032, 2033. This is so significant for humanity at large, because now that Pluto's in Aquarius and Uranus, that rules technology, has moved into Gemini, 2 air signs technology is going to do a boom again. And we're going to be, it's going to be similar to the 90s, when one day we all ran around, no phones. We just had to sit by the side of the road and find a call box. And then the next thing you know, we're all on our phones 24/7. Our thumbs are like, getting workout more than our brains. But anyway, so that's going to be very, very interesting, because to have such a quirky planet, such a willing to be my silly self planet, moving into the sign of my neighborhood, my teammates, my workmates, my siblings, it's going to really feel very, very different. Again, Gemini is your 9th house of it's a business house. It's also the house of travel, the house of philosophies and ideologies. In August, the whole month, Saturn and Neptune will be retrograding in Aries, which means they're hovering in those first few degrees on the world axis. This is super, super important, because the world axis is sort of the 0 degree of Aries is this, like, where the soul comes into the physical experience, and it's like this whoosh of newness and opportunity. So I believe Saturn's retrograde and Neptune's retrograde is giving me an opportunity to reinvent myself, or start to build myself even more intentionally with my spiritual tools, speaking to the universe. I am an abundant creature. I am experiencing good things. That's how you work with the universe, and you co-create. Venus and Jupiter are in Cancer together now, and they're exact on the 11th of August. And this is going to be a beautiful few days, maybe a week or so, as they are conjunct, because both planets rule money. We're in the sun there. Venus loves Cancer, Jupiter's in exaltation. So this will be a warm, fuzzy time in the middle of summer, I believe. Mars will enter Libra in its detriment in August. And this is for me a really powerful placement actually for Mars, because Mars really gets to understand how Mars demands cooperation but doesn't always give it, because Mars in its detriment is really having to look at how other people respond, react, how Mars is inspiring. And this is in your first house. So you could see yourself feeling a sense of wanting to take action, or you could also feel the potential that you're more aware of some old energies that you want to shift to a new frequency or vibration or experience. Because as the South Node is going through your 12th house, it's going to be triggering old stuff. And old stuff where you felt enslaved, historic stuff on a soul level. So I think that this is really powerful, because this is where you use Mars's energy in a more balanced vibration. This is where Mars has a potential to be the hero, and therefore no longer in detriment. Venus enters Leo and makes an opposition to Pluto. This is going to happen at the end of August, around the 25th. And again, this is going to be a pretty significant opposition. We could see things coming up about money, about personal liberties and pleasures. This is your 5th house, 11th house access. And this is very much about the expression of the self, not only through, like, it's an evolved version of it, because that 5th house is kind of taking the first 4 houses and bringing it together, as you have defined yourself, as you have been nurtured as a human. But as you move forward into the more adult phases of the human experience, by the time you get to the 11th house, you transform into a more authentic version of yourself. So I think that's what Venus is offering as she is in that 11th house of Leo in opposition to Pluto. So now let's go to September, where we have our second eclipse season. We'll first have a full moon total lunar eclipse in Pisces. This is going to really illuminate something that has been blurry, unclear, foggy, or even potentially deceptive. We will also have a new moon solar eclipse in Virgo. We will see Saturn re-enter in its retrograde Pisces. Again, these planets, Neptune and Saturn, are still within orb, but Neptune is in Aries still. This is a significant theme throughout 2025, along with your 6th house. So, I mean, it's re-entering your 6th house of Pisces, but this 6th, 7th house access is really powerful for you. Okay, Uranus will retrograde from 1 degree of Gemini to 27 degrees of Taurus, really kind of cleaning out the last cobwebs of the Taurus energy and moving the story forward. Taurus is your 8th house. This is going to be another revisit of how money, possessions, material things could potentially have power and control over you in a way that is not allowing for your expansion. And if that's the case, there'll be a renovation involved there. In October, Jupiter in Cancer will trine Saturn in Pisces. This is kind of, Saturn is retrograde in Pisces, just entering those last degrees right now. And it's kind of a beautiful energy, because now we're seeing where there were squares and there was like this argument between contraction and expansion. Now we see harmony, because we're coming at it from a more spiritual, more intuitive place, coming from both the Cancer and the Pisces energy, are really connecting to that soul's knowing that we are co-creators. And as we allow the illusions of human fear to wash away, we become more clear and more focused, which then draws those experiences towards us. So this is pretty exciting and something that there'll also be an opportunity coming at the end of the year to again take advantage of this. The first time this trine happens, we have Saturn retrograde in Pisces. Now, Neptune will retrograde back into Pisces, conjunct Saturn in October. And then Pluto goes direct in Aquarius at 1 degree in October. So now we're starting to really feel the shifting of the planets as they're experiencing the last degrees of the old vibration and the newness of the new vibrations. There becomes an awareness, and as you listen to your inner voice with intention, I think you're going to Pluto can bring in some beautiful things, and in Aquarius it can really bring a lot of bounty when I'm brave enough to risk exile to express my genius. November, Mercury will do its last retrograde of the year from 6 degrees of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is your third house of your neighborhood, your communities, how you think, how you speak. It's your siblings. It will retrograde to 20 degrees of Scorpio into your second house. This is going to be for most of the month of November. So you'll be rethinking a lot of your own philosophies. And again, Scorpio energy is going to be sort of how does money and possessions and how does that shape how I feel about myself and my ability? Because sometimes people can be very strong in themselves and what they produce. I want to example the stay-at-home mom who's not a stay-at-home anything. She's running all over the town, providing for family 24/7 for 18 plus years, if that. I mean, that's just, the hands-on every day. It's a lifetime job. So the person who owns that really steps into a strong sense of themselves. And I think that Mercury retrograde could bring that up for you, Libra. Jupiter will retrograde from 25 degrees of Cancer to 15 degrees of Cancer from November 11th, 2025 until March 11th, 2026. Again, this is your Cancer is your 10th house. This is a very public house, and there's expansion in a public way. I almost wonder if some of you won't like purchase a home or redo your home or something like that over the course of 2025. Also, we will see in November, Saturn will go direct in Pisces. This will happen at the very end of the month on November 28th at 25 degrees of Pisces. And then in no short order, both Neptune and Saturn will settle in Aries. In December, Jupiter will trine Saturn for the second time. This time, Jupiter is retrograde and Saturn is moving direct. Again, revisiting the themes of how we can harmoniously expand and build more wealth and more security and something that is enduring. This is where the planets really start to play to your highest and greatest good without it hurting so much. They've torn away the illusions that fear create, and now you're standing in a much more powerful position. We also will see in December, Neptune go direct on the 10th of December at 29 degrees of Pisces. And whenever a planet's hovering at 29 degrees of a sign, it's a mastering of that sign. It's an opportunity to really reflect on how I interact mentally with that sign, which reflects my emotional belief system. The 29 reduces down to an 11, which is a master number of thought. It's an angel number. So with having Neptune being, hanging out for such a long time at that degree is really a revisit to how you interact with your emotional body and your spiritual body, and whether you default to human fear or spiritual empowerment and growth. All right, so 2025 is going to be a big year. In fact, the years coming up over the next, decade or so are going to be very transformational as we rewrite a lot of structures that are no longer serving humanity's growth and highest and greatest good. So Libra, thank you for listening. Again, my name is Teri Hunter. Please like, please subscribe, please share. Please hit that notification bell. There's going to be tons of content coming out. Be sure to check out your January monthly, where we go into a little bit more detail in January. And then your love and money January tarot card reading. That's available as well. All right, everybody, take care, and I'll see you in February.